Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Vedic Living. Today, I want to talk about the chart of Michelle Obama. As I always say in the beginning of all my political kind of videos or election videos, I don't do this for any political purpose. I, purely come at this from a research standpoint because I'm trying to understand how this works, how the energies of the planets work, how it works in elections and politics. So I'm not in any way endorsing anybody here. We are purely looking at this from a Vedic astrology standpoint. So keep that in mind while I go into this video, because I came across a very interesting set of aspects in Michelle Obama's chart and her chart in connection with United States chart and her chart in connection with Donald Trump's chart. So I didn't really plan to do her chart for the election series. As you know, I completed my election series with everybody who we thought was running as of last year. But I came across Michelle Obama's chart because I was doing research on a certain aspect. I was trying to find charts of celebrities where there is the Saturn-Mars conjunction. Now, the reason for this is this particular conjunction has always interested me a lot because Saturn rules delays and obstacles, but at the same time, it gives the person the ability to do hard work and not give up, right? Now, Mars can rule anger and aggression, but at the same time, it rules willpower. That's why when you have a strong Mars in a person's chart, the person is really interested in going into competitive sports or military or any kind of competitions, all of that. So I've always tried to understand when Saturn and Mars come together, um, what is it that makes the person so successful? Because the fact that they come together, and this is usually, you see it in pretty much every chart where this conjunction is there. The person has problems in their life, right? Because these are two malefics that come together. So you will notice that there are issues in this person's life. But what is a commonality between all these charts is that these natives, they don't give up. They are persistent. They will always try to win. So I was trying to find all the charts of important people, celebrities who have the Saturn-Mars conjunction so I can start analyzing them and write my research article. So while I did the query to find all these charts, I found, of course, famous people, right? Like Jeff Bezos has this in his chart. And I think his Saturn-Mars conjunction is in Capricorn, which makes it even more powerful. So when I ran the search, I saw Michelle Obama's chart because she was born around the same time as Bezos, and she has a Saturn-Mars conjunction in her chart. So that's how I came across it, because I typically, wouldn't have gone looking for Michelle Obama's chart. But when I saw the chart, and of course, I have to tell you, we don't have the time for Michelle Obama. So I'm using the moon as the ascendant. So if you notice in this chart that I'm going to pull up here, the ascendant is placed next to the moon. So this is not her real time of birth, okay? But what's interesting in her chart that I noticed, and things just started jumping out at me when I started looking at that chart, she has a very powerful chart. Her, there are so many gifts and talents in this chart. At the same time, the grit and the can-do attitude because of the Saturn Mars. And I can tell you by looking at this chart that she will always win anything that she takes up because she won't give up. That's that Saturn Mars. But I saw a few other things which were also very interesting in her chart. So we are going to look at her chart in detail because for some reason I felt compelled to do it. And I think she's going to play a very important role on the world stage in the coming years. So we're going to look at that in detail, including this upcoming election, because I think, there's a strong chance for her. And if not in this election, I'm pretty sure in the next one she will run, because she is here to play a big role in the country of United States. And I'll tell you why. When I compare her chart with the United States chart, it's mind-blowing. All right, so before we go any further, I do want to remind you that my website, www.vedic-living.com, has a lot of articles, and I also write newsletters, which I send out every month. So make sure you go to my website, check out my newsletter, and sign up for it. It's free. So here's a chart of Michelle Obama. She was born January 17, 1964. And as I said, we don't have her time. So I placed her ascendant with the moon. She has a very, very good chart. I mean, yes, it's a difficult chart. It's not that easy. But like I said, the chart has the promise of overcoming obstacles in the life. So right off the bat, of course, we place the ascendant with the moon, but if I can show you this combination here, the Moon-Venus combination. This is a very strong Raja Yoga in Gemini astrology. And as most of you know, I teach Gemini astrology and I've written a book on it. And this Moon-Venus combination is one of the most successful Raja Yogas in Gemini astrology, because it makes the person very graceful, very creative, right? The moon Venus together, it's very creative. But they have a very charming side. So she can be very good at social events. She's a very good hostess. You're able to bring that calmness and peace into people's minds from your words, from what you're saying. So she has that side to her where she's very refined. That's the word I'm looking for, very refined. But that's the Moon Venus combination. And it also makes a person very beautiful, right? Because Venus, if it comes on the moon, which we made the moon the ascendant, the person's very beautiful and charming and gracious and graceful, right? This is a very nice combination, and it's really good in matters of social events, because it tells me that she is able to kind of carry herself with that level of um, dignity, at that level. She will not get into unnecessary fights or arguments. She has a way about doing things in a very graceful manner. So this is very nice in her chart. Now, another thing that I noticed here, you know, the this is the reason why I even got attracted to this chart, right? Because this is the research I was doing, the Saturn-Mars combination. Why this is even more interesting is that the Mars is exalted. It's in its sign of exaltation. Saturn is its own sign of rulership. So when they both come together, this makes this combination even more stronger, right? Because both the planets have good dignities. When planets come together and form yogas, it's great. But when each of those planets have their own dignities increased because of being in the same sign or being in exaltation or in Mula Trikona or Parivartana Yoga, whatever that may be, if the strength of those individual planets are increased, then that means that that yoga is even more stronger. And that's the case in her chart. She is the kind of person who will not give up. She will not enter any competition that she is not sure that she can win. And until she wins, she will try. She'll try until she wins. And interestingly, I have to say, this combination coming into the 12th house from the moon, it tells me that, when we think about any competition, anything, even the elections, she will not have the interest to get into it by herself. Like, she will not want it. It will be something that she will do because somebody asks her to, or makes a good case as to why she should do it. But she will by herself not want it, because that's in the 12th house. 12th house is the house of letting go of things, letting go of ego. Her sun is also in the 12th house. So she's not this real high ego kind of person. Okay. But, you know, what makes this interesting is because she has this combination in her 12th from the moon, even though she doesn't want something, life will automatically bring it to her, right? Because the 12th house is the house of statesmen. Usually, a lot of people in politics or their leaders of countries, they have strong 12th houses because 12th house is foreign lands. And you have the ability to talk to the heads of states and other people who are in foreign places, and you have the ability to make those deals when you have planets in the 12th house. She is very psychic and intuitive, I can tell you that. She has a high level of intuition because this is in the 12th house. But at the same time, um, like I said, she's not going to want fame or praise for herself. This is the placement of planets where you have the innate talent and the ability, but you are okay being in the background. And that's why, her husband was the president and she wasn't really, she was the first lady. She was in a supporting role. That's the idea of these planets, because when planets go in the 12th house, your ego is not heightened where you're like always like me, right? There is that sense of I'm okay being in the background. Now, if you look from the moon, the Jupiter goes in the second house in its own sign of rulership. So that brings great wealth to her. And another thing is, when you look back at the moon, the Venus that was sitting with the moon is the ruler of the ninth house of legal matters and representation. And she was a law student. Okay. So that shows her strength in the ability to do debates and, make her arguments and win the arguments and all of that. So she has that that ability to do that. So this usually, when you have a strong sixth house planet or ninth house planet or ruler of the sixth or the ninth house, you are really good at legal matters. So she has that. Now she has Mercury, Ketu together in the 11th from the moon. And that typically shows the ability to make conversations. She is really good at making conversations. And the nodes being there, it's very karmic for her. I think her relationship with her children is very strong and karmic. It's a past life relationship because the nodes come into the fifth house from the moon. Fifth house is children. So she has huge karma there. And she'll also be involved in a lot of not just her own children, but even charities and volunteering and nonprofits that have children's causes associated with them. It's very important because of the nodes being in the fifth from the moon. Now, coming to the United States chart, trying to understand if there's a chance for her to run in this election, which I think that's a very strong possibility, because if you notice, in any time there is a connection between a chart, a person's chart, and the country's chart, that person plays a very important role in that country's history. And if you notice, her moon and United States moon are exactly the same, which means both United States and Michelle Obama is going through the peak of their Sadesati at this time. Sadesati brings life-changing events. The direction of your life changes completely. So this is why I think that she's going to take a big action here where it could put her on the world stage very quickly. So that's one big connection that I see in both the charts. Another connection that I also see is the fact that her Mercury is directly opposing all of these planets in United States seventh house. So that's very strong there too, because whenever you have a connection between planets, like I said, if they are in the exact degree, then even more so. But just the fact that you have this connection is telling me that in terms of the country and its leadership, she does have a strong part to play here. Now, the third and most important thing that I saw, which is a correct exact degree connection, is her sun. Her sun is directly connected to United States Mercury, which is right there. And if you notice, it's at exact 3 degrees. And Mercury in United States chart rules the 10th house of leadership. And her sun is, of course, her leadership potential, right? So this connection is also very strong. So I think we are able to establish that she is very important. And of course, she was the first lady for 2 terms. So, that could be the case here too. But I think there's more coming for her in terms of the world stage and for United States. Now, what's interesting is if you look at her dasha, she is going to be in her Mercury Moon dasha when around the election time. And Mercury in her chart is in the 11th house. Yes, it rules the 5th and the 8th from the moon. We don't know exactly which houses it rules because we don't have a time. But if you look at that moon, being placed with that Venus and being in that Raja Yoga combination, I think this is a very strong time for her to do something that puts her in the limelight, because moon rules the masses, it rules the people. And the fact that she's going into this dasha around that time tells me that in some way she's coming into the public eye. Okay. And also, if you notice, she has, like I said, she is in the peak of her Sadhisati, which her Sadhisati will not complete till, Sadhisati is 7.5 years. But the 2.5 years where Saturn is going through Aquarius will not be complete till March of 2025, which by that time, something big would have changed in her life, which would have changed the direction of her life in a good way, because Saturn likes to start you on a new path. It tells, every time a Saturn return or a Sadhisati happens. In fact, she had her Saturn return a couple of years ago during the COVID time frame. She was in her Saturn return. Every time this happens, it changes the direction of your life. And I think she wrote and published her books during her Saturn return. So it puts you in the next phase, the next 30-year cycle of your life. So this is why this is such a turning point and life-changing event for her. One more thing that I noticed that was really interesting here. I started thinking I've seen the same lineup of planets, but on the other side of the chart for another person. So I pulled up and I remembered it was Donald Trump's chart, which is so interesting that if you look here, notice how all, of course, both are in Kalasarpa Yoga, right? Because the nodes are on like all the planets are on one side of the node. So you have the nodes here in Donald Trump's chart, all the planets are between the nodes on the right side of the chart. And in her chart, the nodes are here and all the planets are on the left side of the chart, right? So interestingly, her planets, most of them are opposing Donald Trump's planets, which was very, very interesting because you notice her Jupiter and it's directly opposing Donald Trump's Jupiter, Pisces and Virgo. Notice the Saturn opposing his Saturn, Cancer and Capricorn. Notice the Mercury opposing his Mercury, Sagittarius and Gemini. There's these 3 huge connections between both their charts in a very opposing way, where, they're not on the same page, but at the same time, because these planets are opposing each other, the connections that Trump has with the United States chart is also there in Michelle's chart with the United States chart, because the opposition makes that happen, right? So either your planet is conjunct a planet in United States chart, or your planet is opposing a planet in United States charts. Opposition means that they have opposing points of view. If you look at the Mercury opposing, it means they can debate with each other. There can be communication that's happening between the two of them where they don't agree with each other. There can be arguments. Jupiter rules your philosophy of life. And with the opposition of Jupiter, that means that side of it also, the philosophy is changing. It's different. Both are very opposing to each other. Saturn's also, at odds with the opposition. So the way they do the work, the way they get work done in government, Saturn rules government, is also different. So whenever I see oppositions in 2 charts, I know these people at some level will argue with each other. And this is another reason why, especially with these transits that are happening, Because you notice how, if I look from the moon, Jupiter is going to be transiting into her fourth house this year, while it's going into Donald Trump's 10th house. From the fourth, it is aspecting her 10th. So she is also poised for some kind of a rise in her career, because, fourth and 10th. And on top of that, like I said, she's going through her Sati. So it really does make things very intense for her. Now, here's another interesting point. Yes, she is in her Sati, but when Donald Trump became president in 2016, he was in his Sati too. Saturn was exactly on his moon at that time, and she's going through a similar transit. So you see how a Sati, while it, astrologers say, oh, it's the most difficult time in the person's life. I think the difficulty comes out of the change that happens in the person's life. Most of us don't like change, right? We want things to be the way they are. But I do think when Saturn is a strong planet in your chart, it can set you up for success. So, and that's, like I said, this looks very interesting. Not only is her chart so strong for leadership quality and, like I said, the don't give up attitude, her persistence, she does not, like I said, she will not fight a battle that she does not know she can win. So that's very strong in her chart, along with her intelligence, her ability to make a strong point, um, and her grace, right? Overall. So, and that connected with the United States chart, we saw the connections. And also, this is interesting to see how three major planets are opposing in his chart, in Donald Trump's chart, and in Michelle Obama's chart. And all his planets are on this side of the chart, hers are on this side. So they're almost like mirror images, and could be at odds with each other. But on the other hand, when you look at compatibility, they could also work well together because the chart completes it, right? So what this person doesn't have, this person has, and what this person doesn't have, this one has. So it does complete the chart, but at the same time, I think there's going to be a lot of debates and arguments between them. Because of this, I do think at some point she is going to run for the elections. Does she want it? No, because all these planets in the 12th from the moon, she's not the kind of person who wants to be on the world stage or who wants the fame. She just wants to be like in the background, hidden, still getting really important things done by charities and volunteering and nonprofits. That's all 12th house. But she does not want direct recognition. That's what I'm seeing from here. But because of the transits going on in her chart, there will be some reason she will have to come on the world stage. And this year is very strong for it. So I do have a feeling that she is going to stand a good chance of coming on to the election platform this year. If not this year, then there's a very strong chance she will do it the next time around for the elections, because this kind of connection with the United States chart, this kind of connections with another candidate who's also running for the election, it can't be a coincidence. So, but like I said, I don't think she wants it. It's something that she will probably do because she has to. That's what I wanted to share with you. When I came across that chart quite coincidentally, I mean, I did not plan to go look for Michelle Obama's chart, but I was looking for the Saturn-Mars conjunction and I came across her. So, and then I started seeing all these things that were connecting her chart with the United States chart and her chart with Donald Trump's chart. So I could see that there is definitely something here that could come out in future. So that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. Like I said, I think she's happy in her life right now because of all those planets in the 12th house. She's more of a behind the scenes kind of person. But that Moon Venus combination that is there in Aquarius, I do think she has the ability, if she does come on the world stage, to attract a lot of people's attention. Because in a good way, right? Because Venus, like I said, is very charming, very gracious. They have the right words that they can speak to attract a person. They know the right things to say. They won't get into arguments too quickly. It's like they have that peace-loving side to them and a very creative side. So she can come up with solutions that are very good as well. So this was very by chance that this happened. So, I didn't go looking for her chart. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of share this information with you guys and see what you think about it.